Ladies and gentlemen, just take a look at this headline. I just find this hilarious. During the crack epidemic, ladies and gentlemen, everybody was a criminal. If your grandmama was upstairs sleeping and you came in the house with crack and the police showed up, everybody went to jail, including your sleeping grandmother upstairs. And if there were any pets in the house, they shot them in the head. That's how they handled the crack epidemic. That's how they handled it. But now that the face of the drug addict has changed, oh, well, these people shouldn't go to jail. It's a public health issue. They need help. They need help. They need you to go to your pharmacy that's handing out the free Narcan and help out. That's what you need to do. You need to help. Oh, they shouldn't go to jail for that. They need help. They need to get treatment, not jail. Really? Where was that attitude during the crack epidemic? So now it was bad enough with opioids, they gave amnesty to drug addicts and anybody that called the police if they're laid out on the ground. No questions asked. They just come, give the Narcan, take them to the hospital, and the person that called, nobody goes to jail. So you thought it was just opioids they had amnesty from? Oh, they trying to get them out of all kinds of crime for drugs. See, that's because the face of the addict has changed. It's not that same addict from the Black community during the crack epidemic. So now heroin, cocaine, and LSD, oh, we need to decriminalize this because they shouldn't go to jail. This ain't the crack epidemic. We don't do our addicts like that. We do them like that, but not our addicts. People are a disgrace. So, ladies and gentlemen, hypocrites as usual. That's all we see, hypocrisy. Oregon could become the first U.S. state to decriminalize possessing hard drugs like heroin, cocaine, and LSD in a ballot measure during Tuesday's election. So no matter what kind of junkie you are in Oregon, you'll get out of the whole thing. You're not a criminal. If the voters pass Measure 110, users found in low-level possession of the substances would have the option of paying $100 fines. That is nothing. $100 fines. Or attending new free addiction recovery centers instead of being arrested and facing jail time, the Associated Press reported. Paying a $100 fine, that ain't going, to me, they're encouraging them to stay on drugs or go through a recovery program instead of jail. Ladies and gentlemen, when I first started doing the opioid stories, they said the average drug addict that completes rehabilitation, they usually fall off the bandwagon within 2 weeks after they get out of rehab. Because opioids is a really tough addiction to beat. And they will start craving for the drug, and within 2 weeks, they're back strung out again. The recovery centers would be funded by tax revenue from retail marijuana sales in the state, which was the country's first to decriminalize marijuana possession. That needs to be decriminalized all over the country and stop being all picky and choosy about where it's decriminalized, where it's not. That's for the birds. Y'all need to cut that mess out. Yes, on 110, the organization sponsoring the ballot measure stresses that the act does not legalize any drugs. No change is made in the criminal code for delivery, manufacture, and other commercial drug offenses. These offenses will remain a crime according to the website. No change is made for the crimes that may be associated with drug use, such as driving under the influence and theft and murder, because many of these drug addicts have murdered people. Approximately 1 in 10 Oregon residents struggle with substance use disorder, according to Yes on 110. The measure expands access to treatment and removes unfairly harsh punishment for minor and nonviolent drug offenses so people with addiction can more easily recover. And that's what the majority of Black men are in jail for, y'all. Non violent drug offenses. They're not putting them in there for no violent crimes. Now, the racists will tell you they are, but go look at the actual numbers that the prisons put out. Most of them are in there. The vast majority, probably 80% of them in there, are for these nonviolent drug offenses. They're not getting you on nothing major. Okay, people will no longer be arrested and put in jail simply for possession of small amounts of drugs. Instead, they will receive a health assessment and be connected to the right treatment or recovery services, including housing assistance to help them get their lives back on track. Wow, they didn't do nothing like that during the crack epidemic. Your jail was your housing. Being in jail, that was your housing. The ballot measure is backed by Oregon Nurses Association, the Oregon chapter of the American College of Physicians, and the Oregon Academy of Family Physicians. Punishing people for drug use and addiction is costly and it hasn't worked. Really? Well, then how come y'all haven't released these people that have been in jail since the 80s over the crack epidemic? If your attitude towards drugs have changed, then you need to let these people go. But you got to keep them in there for that prison work, working for corporations behind bars, the slavery that you try to hide. More drug treatment, not punishment, is a better approach, the group said in a statement obtained by the outlet. Oh, you people are hypocrites. Y'all are hypocrites. The Oregon Criminal Justice Commission estimated that convictions for possession of a controlled substance would decrease by 3,679 or 90.7%. Every hour, police in Oregon arrest somebody for drugs at a time when Oregon has missing children, unsolved murders, and a long backlog of cold cases. This measure will free up police to focus on what matters, according to Yes on 110. That's amazing. Mm-mm-mm. Measure 110 is also supported by the Democratic Party of Oregon and several health and human services civil rights organizations, including the American Civil Liberties Union and NAACP Portland. It is opposed by 24 district attorneys who argue the measure recklessly decriminalizes possession of one of the most dangerous types of drugs and will lead to an increase in acceptability of dangerous drugs. And I agree with that. All you're doing is opening the door for people to start increasing their use of drugs because they know there's not going to be any consequences. To me, you're encouraging them to do the drugs. It is a terrible idea. It's disconnected to what's best for Oregon. It will lead to an increase in crime, an increase in drug use. Washington County District Attorney Kevin Barton. So the governor, a former emergency room physician, And the longest serving governor in Oregon's history also urged voters to reject Measure 110 earlier this month in a blog post. I understand that a central motivation behind the ballot measure is to help reverse the disaster caused by the war on drugs, which incarcerated people suffered from addiction and had a disproportionate impact on Black and Indigenous people and other communities of color, he wrote. I agree with the goal, but Measure 110, as written, makes it more difficult to treat the underlying addiction that leads to drug use in the first place. Yeah, but you say all of these things, but you have never rectified the situation for all of these people that have been put behind bars just for drug use and possessing drugs. You've never done nothing to right that wrong. Maybe that's why things aren't going so well for you, because you just got a laundry list of things that you screwed up on and you refuse to correct. Several other countries, including Portugal, the Netherlands, and Switzerland, have already decriminalized possession of small amounts of hard drugs, include and according to the United Nations. Okay, Portugal, 2000 decriminalization brought no uptick in drug use. The AP reported. Officials say drug deaths fell while the number of people treated for drug addiction in the country rose 20% between 2001 and 2008. So, as usual, for their own people, there's always a way out. And for us, any little petty thing will land you in jail. But y'all, please tell me what you think. Please leave your comment and subscribe. Don't forget to hit on the notification bell, and I'll see you on the next video. Peace, family.